to order at 5:30. Roll call. Council at Large Boots.
Here.
At Large Spear.
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Leeper.
Here.
Ward number 2 Anderson.
Here.
And Ward number 3 McNeil.
Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. For the agenda, are there any additions or modifications to the agenda? Seeing as there is none, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Who's with the first? And McNeil with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, then the agenda has been approved. Moving on to the communications. If there's anybody who would wish to address the city council, please make your way up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Margie Griffin, Widow One Lemon. I really didn't want to come here tonight, but Mary wrote a letter that made it to the paper, so I felt compelled. I wanted to clarify some things. My husband and I bought 801 Lemon January 15th, and we didn't move in for several months because we were working on it, and we promised our landlord we'd stay through the winter. And I'd just like to say that, all up and down Lemon Street, I'm sure there's very nice people, but we do not know any of them. And behind me is country estate, I think that's correct. And we don't know anyone there. And I sit outside late at night, and I can tell you that's a very quiet, mobile home park. All you hear at night are feral cats fighting and occasional car alarms. I'm very, very happy that's so quiet. All our problems are with one neighborhood to our immediate south. And where to be. That neighbor, likes to call us nigger lovers. Take your fucking nigger loving asses back down where we came from. We couldn't figure out why, but then we remembered something that happened end of January, beginning of February, and my husband and I call it the story. And we were riding in our realtor's car. My husband next to the realtor and me behind the realtor, and he was giving a ride home to our neighbor, or a ride somewhere. And our neighbor proceeded to tell us a story, which I'm not going to go into much detail about. But the story left my husband and I shocked and appalled and disgusted. And I asked a couple of questions. His father-in-law answered. Each answer just made me a little madder. So, in the back seat, after quite a long pause, I told the neighbor, now David and I own that house. And if there's any issues that come up, we'll handle them our way. Period. It involves the stretch of grass between our two properties. And I told him I'm pretty sure we own all of that, and it turns out we do. Well, we forgot all about that, and we were busy remodeling and packing, and, you know. Finally we moved in, and it's just kind of been a constant traumatic experience ever since. So,
Ma'am, is there anything that you think we can do?
well, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
We didn't want to say anything, and we didn't really know what to do. And, you know, I did ask for a cruiser to come up and down my street, and I wanted the traffic, you know, 25-mile-an-hour sign to be enforced. And, you know, they told me no, and they had 4 excuses why they couldn't, and, you know, things just got worse. And, well, anyway, our situation has turned around somewhat now, because we let Mr. Peck, you know, came to our house after the last incident, and you know, he came with a smile and an open mind and a very positive attitude, and most of all, he listened to us. So we just poured out 6 months worth of our experience, and you know, things are. I have some hope that things are going to get better, but I don't ever come out of my front door. I'm okay in the back because it's all fenced in. At least not without my husband. So, you know, we don't, our faith tells us to stay home, be quiet, tend to your garden, you know, live peacefully. And I can respect other people's belief systems, but, you know, I just want what all of you have and take for granted. We don't really feel we have that yet. I think things will be better. This past week, we finally took some action, so I think it's been quiet 5 days since we got right. I understand that your city has hired 2 brand new police officers. Correct?
Do what?
Brand new police officers.
Yeah.
And one knocked on my door. And my dog bolted right past him, so I could chase it up. But we had quite a long talk. And he's very young and very full of promise. He assures me he'll come hold my hand if I'm bleeding out in my front yard. You know, so that's something. And you know, I'm very happy to hear that you've added these training police officers. I don't understand why you can't enforce the speed limits once in a while. And I know that lots of people have written a paper about that issue. You know, that would be appreciated. And he told me that he'd be around. And then I got your letter, you know, so I painted my garage. That's not really typical of me, but, you know, a lot has happened. And, you know, this is what happens when you call people niggers, nigger lovers. You know, we recognize that the other party, then it's the human that's in. And, you know, we understand that they don't see you as a human with any value. And this is what happens. Over time, you begin to feel the same way about that. And, you know, that's really a recipe for a sentinel event, frankly. And, you know, that's where we're at today. And I don't want that feel. It's a bitter pit. You know, it's like hate is a bitter pit. So I'm doing what I can to get rid of it.
And please keep the lines of communication open too with our officers.
Well,
And anyone else? City Hall
That's
as
a
well.
mixed bag. Okay. I feel that I can pick up the phone and talk to Mr. Pecking, but not all of our experience with them has been positive. I told him the next thing we're going to do is throw up video cameras because Mr. Woody likes a photograph of the crime in cars. So we'll be throwing up video cameras and floodlights. And I said, please don't mistake my house for a crack house, but that's what it's going to start looking like. It's just kind of sad that you have to live that way here. You know, I see you walk in my neighborhood all the time. I would like to do that too, you know, but I don't think I can't yet. So, that's all I wanted to clear up. We don't know anybody up and down. I have spoken to my other next door neighbor twice, and there's a lovely lady across the street who wrote me a very kind note. You know, but we don't know anyone, and we don't know anyone in the country states. But I do want to say this to the people of Tipton. My fence is now up, thank you, Mr. McNeil. I'll bring your tree back. That's why it took so long. Once I did have a kind of unpleasant talk with a man behind me who was upset about my trees. But I think he just took care of that, and the tree just came down. And it's a good thing, because the hugest one was hollow. And immediately behind my home is a 100-foot tall, deader than the doorknob tree. And if it falls to the right, it's going to land on that older gentleman. And if it falls to the left, it's going to land on a young family. And if it falls to the east, it's going to cut the back half of my house in half. So I was wondering if you could do anything about that tree. That would be appreciated. I've also sit and watched the world outside my front window. I've seen on 8th Street, they have no sidewalks, and the children come down, and they're in the street, and then I have to race across 2 lanes of one. And I've seen a couple near misses. So, maybe you could put 2 white stripes, the kids could walk inside, and a child crossing sign. Truthfully, I'd like a slogan, because then I'd get what I want. And it doesn't take up any manpower from the police. But, I'm concerned about that. The kids have to go in the street, run across the road. I can't think, there was one other thing I wanted to ask about, but I guess I've forgotten it, so. The police came up and down the road, so, the garage is painted, life in Tipton came back to normal. Really, everyone drove so fast that I only got like 7 days of notice. People actually drove the limit to the start of the garage door. But if you're going to treat people like get them here, don't be surprised if they throw a little smack from the garage. So it's all painted, that's done.
I'm sorry your experience started out rocky here, but I hope, like I said, it's getting a little better. I hope it continues to get better.
Yeah, I do too. Mr. Peck told us a little story about his garage fire. So, if my house is on fire, let it go. Let it go. Save the stuff. We'll take the insurance and I leave you guys alone.
All right.
Anyway, thank you for everything.
No problem. Thank you.
I would like to say Mr. Tipton is very nice.
Okay.
He's young. He's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anybody else who would like to address the council, step up to the podium. Seeing that there is none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And this will approve the city council minutes from July 18th and the June library board minutes. Does any of this need to be pulled out and discussed? I think there is none. Is there a motion to approve this? Anderson with the first. And McNeil with the second.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil. Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
All right, so now moving down to the motions for approval. The first one is the claims list. Is there any items on there that need to be discussed or asked about? Seeing if there is none, is there a motion to approve this claims list? McNeil with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, now moving to the second one, the discussion and consideration, hiring and appointment process of the chief of police, which have been tabled from 7/18. There a motion to get this off the table?
So moved.
Boots with the first, McNeil with the second.
McNeil. Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
All right, so now, Mr. Long, if you wouldn't
Thank you,
mind
Mayor.
taking this.
So we have researched the Iowa Code, city's hiring practices and policies, and established a methodology here that will properly advertise and meet both the spirit and the letter of the law for advertising for a chief of police. Our advertisement, as proposed, does acknowledge that the current interim chief is an interested applicant with the qualifications for the job, so we are straightforward about that, and we're not potentially wasting someone's time who may be just trolling for job openings. And it's my understanding that council is of that mind to continue in that fashion. We will, with your approval, post the advertisement for the position at City Hall and the library, and advertise in the Tipton Conservative with a deadline that is set for a minimum of 10 working days following the publication in the paper. That meets the letter of the law. And then following the closing of the application deadline, the Personnel Committee will review any and all applications, and with direction of the Personnel Committees, we will notify any other applicants of the recommendations and of the selection process forthcoming to all those folks. We already have confirmation from an expert panel of regional executive law enforcement officials to work with the council on conducting a goals and objective session with the potential chief and relevant management staff to provide clear, reasonable expectations for the chief. Those executives, as of last week, included the sheriffs of both Cedar and Johnson counties, and chief or management level executives from neighboring police departments. So we've gotten, for the cost of lunch, the expertise of some competent folks who can help the city formulate a set of goals and objectives for the chief. I think it will help you a great deal in moving forward with the process and hiring. And I'm making assumptions here as I did in the memo, but pending a positive understanding and agreement of the goals and objectives, Mayor Carney may recommend and the council may approve the appointment of the chief of police. And again, interim Chief Kepford has expressed interest in this position and continues to do so. Following that path, then, if the council does approve, to Chief will have a letter of understanding regarding the terms and conditions so that it's eminently clear what those expectations are. And we did research veterans' preference. We are to observe for this position, for law enforcement positions, veterans' preference. Veterans' preference does not mean anyone who's served in the armed forces. It means a person who served in the armed forces in very specific theaters and very specific time frames. So we will, of course, observe that if anyone does apply with those qualifications. And Mayor, that's all I have, unless there are questions.
I have a question. So is it my understanding then that the law requires you to post this and advertise?
Yes.
That is the state law. It seems rather, instead of you're doing the hiring, you would think they'd give you some leeway to actually do the hiring if you didn't need to advertise, but it seems like a waste of time. But anyway, in relationship to that, you have a vacancy in the ambulance director's position.
Correct.
What is that process going to be? I haven't seen anything on it yet. Does it follow the similar process? Do you advertise?
It does. It is advertised, and the person will be interviewed by the personnel committee as well.
And so any applicants will
Thus
be
far,
interviewed?
At this point, I'm not aware that we have applicants or that the application
We have
process
two
is closed.
applications.
We have two now? Okay.
And who narrows that down? Who looks at the applications and who's going to be advancing those applications for interviews? Who's on that hiring committee?
The personnel committee.
My assumption is the personnel committee would refer
Mr.
that to the
Lieber's
council.
on that, Mr. Anderson.
So you have a couple of council members, and who else is on that personnel?
That is the personnel committee. I mean, staff
Two
assist.
Two council members?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Very good. Then I know who to talk to. Thank you.
There a motion to approve this process for the
So
selection
moved.
of chief. Mr. Lieber with the first,
I'll second.
and Ms. Boots with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Sanderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, so that carried. The next motion is the school and park facilities joint use agreement. Is there a motion to take this off the table?
So moved.
Spear with the first,
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Long.
I'll refer to Adam Spangler.
Sorry I wasn't here last time. I was on vacation. First full week vacation I had since I've worked here since 2005. So it was nice. But a long process. How many times have we been?
It's
4 or 5
months.
Couple months, yeah. Going to this process to this 20E agreement. I think you guys have this in your packet. This was a lot of meetings with Tim, myself, Marlene, and Kirby Bierman, seeing where we submitted a bill to them, they submitted a bill to us, and it was just back and forth, back and forth. A spreadsheet from basically how I had it from 2015, February 2015 through January 2016, gauged how much we used the facility, adult basketball, as well as all the rec programs, volleyball, basketball, and all of our sports camps and everything like that, and then how much the school used the facility for sport teams, or even a high school or junior high swim team. Did that with and without adult basketball, because the past couple of years we've had the guys pay in school for that. And we actually, towards the end of this current year, we had one of our basketball players put on his insurance, which no one really wanted to, because then if somebody gets hurt, then it's all on that one gentleman instead of rec. So with the agreement, basically, the adult basketball is under Tipton Rec. They don't have the same priority as all the kids' programs. So it's basically all the school gets basically first dibs in every single facility, and then after that, then we can come in. After that, we actually select teams, and then adult basketball would be with that group. With multiple meetings going back, Jim Becker actually sat in one of our meetings, had Tim and I's eyes wide open about a lot of the stuff I didn't know the school actually contributed to the aquatic center, that I think this is what we agreed to is very fair and very good in my opinion. Instead of basically changing hands, we're still going to continue to keep track, and they're still going to continue to keep track of how much we use the facility, how much they use the facility, for swim teams, sports teams, whatever. I know volleyball, we're going to be using it next Monday. Josh Barr, the football coach, already asked me when he could use the facility, and the high school swim team started a camp just this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, so for 4 hours every day this week. So it's, we're keeping track on our spreadsheets, but, I mean, do you guys have any questions for me? Hopefully, I know that was really fast. I wish it was that fast to come to this point.
Can you say how different this is compared to years past?
We were originally charged $70 for the past 2 years. Past 2 years, I think we've been charged $20 per hour per gym that we use for any time we use any of our camps, any of our leagues, any of our league games, practices, whatever. And we charge them $70 an hour per hour for the facility. Originally, when we first started, I think the school pays, correct me if I'm wrong, when it's $20,000 or $25,000.
It was $20,000.
$20,000 was a flat fee. And that was like the first, I think, 5-6 years. And then after that, then we start keeping track of how much they use it, and then basically we bill them how much we use. Sometimes it be right at $20,000, it'll be less than that. And then we, with Chris being here, then we got to this previous 2 years current agreement, $70 an hour, $20 an hour. And then now with the $20 an hour we would be charged, I had to increase multiple programs just to break even for our rec leagues, because we were paying $20 an hour per practice, and then we have games on Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoons, and 3-4 hours of that time, that adds up pretty quick. So basically started out, Kirby and I started talking a little bit, said, well, let's just all get together and start talking about what we need to do, and this, I think year to year we can continue to open it up if we want to, or just continue to, my understanding, reading the document. Every single year we can open back up, or just if we don't by a certain date, we just continue to go. So that's a cliff note version of what we've talked in the past 6 months at least, 6-7 months.
All right. Any other questions for Adam? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Spear with the first,
I'll second.
and Boots with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Weaver,
Abstain.
McNeil, Boots, yes. Anderson,
Yes.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you
Adam.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
All right, now to number 4, arc flash study. Lloyd?
Okay, as I outlined here, this will be an arc flash study that will be done for the electric power plant, and the water and the sewer plants. And what this is, arc flash, is to protect the employees in case the breaker fails or a piece of equipment fails and it flashes. The clothing that they have to wear has to meet the requirements for what the potential is at that site. So let's say it's 40 calories is what they say that it comes up to. They'll tell us what protective gear and stuff that we have to wear at that site. I think, don't we have 2 of those suits? Yep. We've got 2 suits that we currently have. But nothing has been determined in any of the buildings for the water, sewer, or the power plant. So that's what it is we're going to determine, and then we're going to determine what protection they have. Maybe their flame retardant shirts and a visor and a hard hat and gloves and sleeves will be adequate. And in some cases it won't be. So, and we also, to take precautions with some of the other equipment, we do have a controller where we can stand away from it when we want to energize a breaker instead of walking up to it and doing it. So we still have that option too. We are required by law to have this done, and then it has to be updated every 3 years. And we was going to go ahead, the electric utility was going to go ahead and pay for it for all of the departments. Because typically we're going to be the first ones that are going to go there anyway. If there's a major issue, they're going to probably call us and say, hey, can you come down and help us? So I figured we just go ahead and take care of it.
Are you saying we've never had this done before, this
No.
test? And is it just, is the requirement new? That-
No, it was actually required to be done in 2008.
Wow.
All right. Just for budgetary reasons, this will fall into your budget?
I budgeted for this year, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And again, you said every other year you'll be doing this?
It needs to be
Every
updated every third year. So we shouldn't have to update it until 2019. About this time, 2019 will start, so. I don't foresee any big changes in the utility or anything at the sewer and water. You? Do you see any big changes at the sewer and water in the next 3 years?
Could be 5 years.
5 years? So probably in 3 years, probably not, but we'll still have to update it according to the law.
Mhm.
Okay. Any more questions?
Oh, thank you.
Is there a
Thank you.
motion for this? Motion? Resolution? Anderson with the first and Leeper with the second?
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil. Booth.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, then at number 5, which is closing the North Drive next to the drop box at City Hall on August 10th. Does everybody know what this is for? All right, this is for the Chalk the Walk event that Linda Beck had organized to show some support for the local law enforcement. And so that's why that would be being closed.
It's just for that day, right?
Yes.
Just that
It's just 4 hours.
Yeah, it's just 4 hours. Yeah.
How come you're going to close it?
Because we're gonna have kids drawing on the actual driveway in where that utility bill drop box is. So kids, or actually anybody can come along and write a message to local law enforcement or draw pictures or do whatever they want to do.
Because I was wondering how many people actually use that drop box. I'm one.
Always some?
If someone pulls up to the drop box and it's occupied, someone will be there that can carry your
Yeah.
bill.
All right. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Boots with the first
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
McNeil.
Yes.
Booth.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
All right, then moving on to the last one, the uncollectible utility accounts. Mr. Long?
Cover this one. With the transition of one of our utility billing clerks moving on to a different position, we have, over the last month or so, in addition to the general panic and fretting about how we're going to manage, determined that it's been some 3 years since we've brought accounts to be written off to the city council. So there's a list of accounts that dates back to 2013. These are accounts that have been determined as uncollectible by us, and the reasons for 2 reasons are listed for certain accounts, and those are deceased or bankrupt as no longer collectible. Other non-collectibles tend to be folks who vacate their premises sort of in the middle of the night and leave bills outstanding and no forward addresses. At any rate, this is a requirement for municipalities to write off accounts annually, and we will do so since. And it was something that Lorna and the utility billing staff pulled together here over the last couple of weeks so that we could get it in front of you. The total of write-offs for the 3-year period is $25,081, which is about $8,000 and change a year. That's not extraordinary from my experience in municipal utilities for write-offs, especially when you have gas and electric on top of your water and sewer. Nonetheless, we have, before our senior utility billing clerk left, we had begun the process to implement the state's collection process. So it provides us with a different method of retrieving some bills that have gone wanting. We will take a closer look at managing reports of folks deceased so that we don't potentially miss a probate notice or filing, which I think may help also. And bankruptcies are onerous, but we will endeavor to watch them as best we can so that we can do a better job of holding this number down. With that, these are deemed uncollectible, and it's our recommendation that we approve this list so that we can write them off and have it closed off. And if there's any questions, one of us will endeavor to answer.
All right, seeing if there are no questions, is there a motion to approve this resolution? McNeil with the first.
Second.
And Anderson with the second.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil.
All right. Now to the reports to be received or filed, which is the Tipton Public Library. Just come with gadgets.
Okay, there's some more. I forgot, so if you want to pass that down.
Yep.
All right. All right. I'm Denise Smith. I'm the director at the library, and this is my sidekick, Diane Wallach. She's my assistant director. Thank you for allowing us to present this annual report to you tonight. So first of all, several questions could be asked of someone in the community, such as, where can one go to make copies, send faxes, or scan important documents to email? Where is there free internet, computer access? Where can you get the latest DVD releases that do not cost you anything? Where can you go to get that old book that no one else wants to read, but you do? Where can you pick up that new and hottest titles to read? Where do you go if you need a place to meet either a friend or set up a supervised visit? Where does one go to get the daily news if one person to not have to purchase their own subscription to the 3 local papers? Where do the 20 or 30 kids go after school or on early outs Wednesdays or spend their summer days? The answer would be at the Tipton Public Library. Since February 2016, the Tipton Public Library has had 1,193 transactions written down for copies being made, 87 transactions written down for faxes being sent, 126 transactions written down for the interlibrary material pickup, 213 transactions written down for the drinks from the Keurig, and 249 transactions written down for book sales for the Friends. To truly get an understanding of what the library means to the community of Tipton and the surrounding counties, the library invites you to attend a program, spend an afternoon at the library, or follow us on our website at www.tipton.lib.ia.us or on Facebook. Please look over the following information to see how the library serves you and our community. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact Diane and I at the library. Thank you for your time, attention, and continued support for the Tipton Public Library. And then I've also got a couple of things, and then I'll show you a fun thing that Diane and I put together. This was the addition that I added. I didn't get that in the packet, sorry. Just a couple of things to be thinking about for this budget year that we're going to be going into this fall. Number one, the steps on the west side of the building are deteriorating and needing fixed or replaced, and there's a picture of that there. I know some of the guys, we had a hole and they came and filled it with cement for us, but those are needing attention. Number two, the sidewalk in front of the east door of the building is sinking, causing a ridge to form, and people with walkers and wheelchairs have a difficult time maneuvering if it is not fixed. It is a tripping hazard. I know when they fixed the book drop for us, the curb, it was really nice the way it all flows into the driveway, but that ledge right in front of the door, it is sinking and it needs to be fixed. The date on the boiler is 1994. Not sure when it was actually installed, but I believe it was around 2000. The boiler may be nearing the end of its life expectancy and will be needed to be replaced with a smaller, more efficient boiler. Number four, the heater in the entryway does and has not worked properly. That has been taken care of, knock on wood. TMI has come in and we think we've got that fixed, so that has been taken care of. Parking becomes an issue after school, especially during our busy times or when there's a meeting in the meeting room. Cars use St. Mary's parking and the parking north of the library crossing Tyson's. And then here's the big one, the meeting room, and I will show you in our video. The meeting room in the library is too small to accommodate the library programs during the summer. The past 2 years, the library has been able to use St. Mary's Hall for programming, which hasn't been a problem thus far, but we're rolling the dice. If there's a funeral over there, we get booted, and we have no place to go. So that's something to keep in mind, so that the library will eventually be needing a meeting space. And now, if you don't have any questions, I'll show you a little video here. It'll take about 3 minutes. All right.
Show the video, yeah.
And please work. was our 5.5 weeks in a nutshell. So, any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I have used the library considerably in the last 4 or 5 years since I moved back to Tipton, and I've always received excellent service. Denise and Diane and all of their staff do a great job, they're always very helpful, and they deserve a lot of praise. We've got a real gem right down there in that library, so I hope everybody takes advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can also make a statement about that, because I got a laptop here a few years back, and it was Windows 8, and I didn't have a clue, but Denise got it set up for me. So.
We're on Windows 10 now.
I won't go there. No. I didn't even go to 9.
There was 9. There was 9.
Well, I won't
So
go
did
to
Mr.
10
Frank.
for sure.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for all your hard work. All right, moving on to the no action discussion items. Sidewalk cafe tables. A little more research has been done on that.
Indeed. We brought you at an earlier meeting the City of Cedar Rapids cafe tables regulations application. And this month I found a smaller city that has cafe tables ordinance in Whitewater, Wisconsin. And so you have a copy of their ordinance here, and there's some photographs from Whitewater that show that 2 different kinds of sidewalk cafes they have there. One is a liquor establishment in which they've fenced off the table area, which interestingly, or maybe coincidentally, is also a requirement of the Iowa ABD. If you have outside service, you have to have that area fenced off. And then another establishment that does not have liquor, and the tables are simply on the walk within the defined space. Both Cedar Rapids and Whitewater established this permit process because they expect a person to bring in a set of plans to show exactly where the tables are going to go, so that there remains sufficient passing space for pedestrians on the sidewalk in front. And both those cities told me that it's important that there is a regular check for your license recipients to make sure that they're not exceeding that space, because you don't want to crowd pedestrian space at the peril of having someone step off a curb into a parking lane or a travel lane in that case. They both also talked about limiting this permit to a certain area, a commercial business district that is not on a freeway, that there is an existing pedestrian-friendly environment, much like you find in Tipton downtown, and that there are sidewalks. They also both talked about the determination to be made whether or not your businesses will remove their tables and chairs at day's end or chain them up out of the way, and that at the end of a season in the winter months, that those things have to come off the walk so that snow can easily be cleared, and there's no reason for a business or property owner to not get his walk cleared. In terms of process, this kind of regulation would require amendment to the city code's sidewalks section, and also to its zoning regulation. So you would identify this particular zoning classification as eligible for sidewalk dining. Both officials from Cedar Rapids and from Whitewater that I spoke to said that they have really not had any issues, that it's been popular in both places, and that they really didn't have any hesitation about recommending community try it. So that's the information I have for your benefit. You can follow your lead on how you'd like to proceed at some future time. Are there any questions? forgot the most important thing. A person who is going to have a license must also produce evidence of insurance naming the city as an additional insured. Since they are occupying a public sidewalk, you want to make sure that in the event somebody has a trip and fall accident, that there's coverage and it doesn't automatically immediately fall back on the city's policy. And maybe in a question.
Yeah, I was wondering about the liability insurance on that, because I could see that the town of Tipton could have liability.
I mean, at one level, you already have liability because you as a community have a sidewalk. And if someone should trip and fall on it, and I've been in this business long enough to know that for some folks, any reason is a reason to bring suit. And so we already have liability insurance, but you're absolutely right. You do not want the city to incur additional liability because of someone's food service business. So the expectation in Cedar Rapids is that they have a $2 million policy. I didn't get Whitewaters, and it might be $1 million, but at any rate, both require evidence of a policy for the period that the license is issued.
That would be up to the business owner premise.
Yes.
And then we follow through with our own ordinance and zoning enforcement.
And this would be limited to eating establishments only?
Eating and/or drinking establishments, which have to be already existing and fronting on a sidewalk. You can't have a business that's around the corner on a Main Street sidewalk. All these permits are issued for businesses who front on a sidewalk. Alcohol serving establishments have to have the entryway into in and out of their business connected to that service area. They can't have it down the building. It's got to be connected to the service area, and that's an ABD requirement as well.
All right, some more food for thought on that. Moving on to the next one, the school city football field and park sidewalk drainage parking proposal.
So I think that, all right. Late spring, early summer, there were school district personnel who were concerned about the condition of the sidewalk that leads from the parking area past the public bathrooms to the football field. It's heaved around a drainage structure, and there was some consideration about just repouring the concrete there and fixing the sidewalk. And we Public Works and I talked about this and suggested, before we go just pouring another several thousands of dollars of concrete on top of an existing drainage structure that is heaved, it might be prudent to look a little wider. And I heard talk about, there's all this parking area that's not accessible because it's gravel, so we have an accessibility issue to the football field from that parking area. And in my experience, when you start adding paving or impermeable surface into a drainage area, you tend to exacerbate the drainage issues. So I suggested maybe we should take a really larger view of this, and we had the city's engineer from Garden Associates come up, and we all met and walked the area. And in looking at it, there are several public facilities that are accessed from that parking lot, including the tennis courts, the basketball courts, the football field, and a lot of folks use that parking area for other park activities as well. And it just seemed prudent to consider a broader look, including some engineering consideration of, okay, what happens to the drainage if we add this impermeable space, and how do we address making these other areas more accessible to more people? So Garden Associates did write a draft proposal, which I've highlighted the numbers to it in my memo, of $7,200 to engineer a complete site solution. And this is not something that you would have to, or perhaps even want to, tackle all at once, but you could do it in stages. So the first priority is that sidewalk issue and the drainage structure. So with a larger plan, we could address those things more immediately and look at the more pricey projects phased out over time so that it was budgetable and doable, so as not to interfere with the activities that just go on all year. And that $7,200 estimate would provide that baseline for an overall improvement to that area. In tackling this in this light, it becomes a project that really does, in my opinion, and probably in the opinion of the state of Iowa code, requires it to be properly engineered and ultimately bid out in phases. So I bring these to your attention so that you can begin to think about it, and I'm looking for sort of not a motion since it's not on the agenda as such, but just general thoughts on this so we can determine whether or not you'd like us to proceed or set this aside.
Can you tell me exactly what the 7,200 includes? I mean,
The
I'm reading it here,
7,200
but is that the sidewalk
It
and the
includes
parking?
sidewalk, drainage, parking, and provides a topography of the entire drainage bowl area there.
Where the sidewalk
Where the
is.
sidewalk,
Yeah.
that gravel parking lot, and the area that sort of runs uphill toward the aquatic center where people park now anyway, as long as it's dry. But it would include all of that, including plans for future parking and future sidewalk improvements.
Tim, I'm just a little bit concerned. We have McClure doing a study of our water and sewer runoff. Are we kind of going to be doubling that if we pay somebody else to do another study on that? Is there some way we can incorporate those together to save some money?
We can probably pick up from the McClure study, indeed, and the advantage of Garden Associates is they've already got a footprint in town with knowledge of elevations and systems, and I've worked projects with 2, 3 engineering firms. It's possible, fewer engineering firms is better, but rather than have McClure need to duplicate knowledge that Garden already has, my recommendation would be to have them both work together, and they both said that they can certainly play well together and would collaborate on a project. But your point is well taken.
I believe that sidewalk, that has to be taken care of. I mean, it's a real liability for people who don't even have walkers or canes or anything. I guess I agree with Leanne, is we're doing studies and we know one of our major stormwater issues is at that corner. So to be thinking about putting more cement in that parking lot would be hard to do right now.
Well, and I've dealt with situations, as I'm sure have both engineering firms, where it's really difficult to manage storage from additional runoff from new impermeable, but there are means to do that. There is permeable pavement with basically on-site below-grade storage of stormwater. So you get a big gusher, you get your 11-inch rain. The rain hits the pavement and it all stays put, and then it bleeds out through a set of smaller outlets into your existing system, so you don't wind up having to overbuild your whole system downstream just because you've added more impermeable on site. And it's a lesser cost, lesser impact than having to upsize downstream stormwater systems. McClure touched on that a bit when they talked about some of the stormwater issues on the north side of town, that there are ways to deal with that without having to upsize a lot of stormwater pipe and tear up streets and yards and whatever else goes with it. So there are ways to do it without creating a lot of disruption and spending a lot of cash.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Long. Something else to digest. And now to the reports. I don't really have anything to report this week. Council? Seeing if there is none. Committees? None. Mr. Long with the city manager.
I'll do a few points just to bring people up to speed. Oh, thank you. I'll start with the ordinary stuff, and we'll move to the really positive contribution here. The ambulance service, which we already discussed briefly, is advertising for a new director. There is in your claims list bills for training for 2 ambulance EMTs. That training, just FYI, is 2 days a week through May of 2017 for those folks. The person for whom we're paying the entire training bill has executed a 6-year contract with the city so as to recapture anything if they were to leave after a year on a prorated basis. The other person is on a 3-year contract, since we're only paying half or a third of her cost is being shared by another ambulance service. So we managed to capture some good neighborliness there. Last Thursday, the electric department was installing a new, I guess it would be a distribution line to a co-op on the east side of town so that they would have sufficient energy without drawing overly hard on existing circuitry. They, in trenching, trenched into the geothermal cooling loop for the pool. Now, they asked before they started, where's the geothermal system at? And everybody told them, why, it's in the parking lot, under the parking lot where the plans show. We did do the 811 call and located for plumbing and found none. But as the trencher went through the ground, it cut into the geothermal system. So everybody pitched in on the spot. Public Works, electric, gas, folks all showed up. They retained a local plumber who was able to stop the leak, patch several breaks in the pipe system. And we have a contractor in early this week, maybe even today, who is going to today who is filtering out any dirt that got into the system, so we'll make sure that there's no dirt gets into the cooling heat exchangers for the system, and it will all be put back together very shortly. Pool folks gritted their teeth and opened their doors on a couple of very hot days. Remained open, and it's all coming back together. I will say that again, folks thought they knew where this was. The plans showed it in the parking lot. We have apparently couldn't find any as-built for the pool project, which doesn't surprise me given how difficult the whole process turned into at the end. Nor was there a tracer wire buried in the system, so it wouldn't have been found except by digging it up. at any rate, it's coming back together, and it'll all be put right here shortly. I'd like to thank everybody that pitched in. I think Lorna might have championed this project to redo the manager's office. It's looking terrific. Staff replaced paneling, painted, did a fair amount of repair, and I will start moving things back into it this week, leaving like comfortable confines of the conference room, and setting it up in such a fashion that I think it'll make a really good presentation for your manager candidates. Lastly, we've had a couple of inquiries about telecommunications hardware being located in town. Folks have inquired about locating another monopole in town, and there is the opportunity for the city to site that kind of equipment on its water tower as a revenue generator. So today I started exploring the state and federal laws on those issues. So we'll look to bring some information to you over the next month or so on that. And finally, just a report that the Lions Club raised $2,476.01 toward the fireworks that you have on the 4th of July, and I think that's pretty stupendous. It says a lot for the community willing to chip in for something that everybody enjoys. And that is all I have.
All right. Thank you. Water wastewater report, Mr. Brennan.
Hello.
Bye.
Nothing major to report to you tonight, so that's good, I think. We made it through our first month fairly smoothly. A little rocky in the beginning, the first couple of weeks, but as the weeks went by, and now I think we're more comfortable and things are going smoothly, and we've kind of found our niche, so glad about that. We made a few repairs in July. Just tonight before we come to the meeting, Eldon and I were up at the Aquatic Center helping Adam and Colin with some chlorinator problems up there, and we got a couple of pumps pumping. I did take a couple of drops of bleach on top of my head, so if it looks like I got some highlights going on, I promise it was an accident. We spent a lot of the month cross-training with other staff, mostly with Eldon, and it's been a pleasure working with him. And Eldon did enroll in proper courses and to take his tests. And if you get a chance, congratulate him, because he did successfully pass his wastewater treatment certification test, as well as his water distribution test. So he's a certified operator now. He's got one more to go, and that's in water treatment. So he'll be doing that real soon. We did some lift station repairs at the return lift station out at the East Lagoons last week. Got the privilege of working with Darren Lands and Tucker that day. Darren is the newest hire in the Public Works Department, and I found out something about him that day. He's very particular about his finished product, so that was good. We had a float system in that lift station that had kind of come apart, and the lowest float in the assembly was hanging up in some brackets in that lift station. It was causing a pump to run all the time without shutting off. So we rebuilt that assembly, and it's working good now. So Eldon and I spent the afternoon today just cutting and treating brush out of the fences at the West Lagoon. So that's just some of the stuff I've been up to. The new truck is ordered for the water wastewater. Should see that this month or early September at the latest. In the near future, we'll be addressing a few issues at the West Lagoon lift station. We've got a couple pump seals down there that are leaking, as well as a couple of check valves that we think aren't holding, and it's cutting into our efficiency at the plant there. So we're going to address that. I haven't talked to Floyd yet, but I'm hoping to borrow his digger there to hold those pumps one at a time and get that. We did notice today we have a few fence repair needs down at the East Lagoon. We have a few wooden posts that are snapped off down there. So fences are important. We need to get them We need to have a conversation in the near future with you guys about the NPDES permits that we started on July 1st. Took a little time to lay the old permits down with the new permits here in the last couple of weeks, and I've noticed some pretty serious changes that are going to affect us. And one example is our DNR set limit for ammonia for the month of January for the West Lagoon is 10 times more stringent than the old permit. And this is how the DNR does it. They crank down your limits and they cause you to fail, and then they tell you what you need to do to improve or bring the process up. So I think you're going to see some violations in the coming months and years, and they're going to let us know when we do, but it's going to be part of the process, and I just don't want you to think it's the new guys. But we need to bring that to you in a more formal way and get everything on the table and show you what's up. So that'll be coming. That's about it. Questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, so department heads, we got the Parks and Rec.
I just want to give props to Brian, I guess, Ellen, too. They're doing a great job. Transition was really easy. Colin and I get along with both those guys really well, and Steve's been very gracious in letting him come up a couple times. And we know he's really trying to train staff and stuff, but they've been great. So this time of year, every year, the past like 3 or 4 years, I've come to the council about staffing at the pool. It's not like I said, every single year the past 3 or 4 years. We usually, first 5, 6 years I was here, we had 40 plus lifeguards. Now, more and more on how much we promote, how much we try to get staff. I mean, we promote to every single school around this area, and we only had 25 guards this year. Now, since Colin is certified, LGI certified, we can train our own staff now. We can certify our own staff, which is great. Still working on trying to get equipment for those staff trainings. If not, we might have to purchase our own, but in the long run, it will save us a lot of money by getting money for it, and we can offer more classes throughout the whole year, not just certain months of the year. That being said, we have a list. We handed out, what was the beginning of July? Or earlier, the last day? Mid-June, yeah. So we try to be proactive and see what the last day would be, who's in fall sports, when's our last day, when they go back to college, et cetera, et cetera. And out of our 25 staff, and this week we'll have 4 already gone. There is 14 in fall sports or marching band, which that cuts in a lot of time. Starting next week with practices or band practice. Band goes from 9 to 11, and then 1:30 to 3:30 every day. I know football, I forget what they do. Volleyball, I know, and they go 8 to 10, 3:30 to 5:15. And then cheerleading, they go sometimes at night. So it's like I mean, scheduling wise, try to figure out how to do that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 more are done by the start of school. So it's like if you do the math, it's not that much staff to be open. We need to have 9 staff at all times to be indoor and outdoors fully staffed. And a lot of times we have 10 guards going on because the amount of daycares over there. So I would suggest our last day will be August 21st. It's a Sunday before school starts. I know a lot of people are not like that when it's posted in the papers, Stuart. But at the same time, past couple of years, last year we were open on just on weekends, but throughout the week when we're not open, we still have to put chemical in the outdoor pools when they're not even being used. So it's really hot one day during the week, and we're pumping in chlorine, we're pumping in uric acid for pH. We're doing that, and that's a lot of money, and that adds up pretty quick. So I know I I know the community's not gonna like to hear August 21st, but at the same time, if we don't have staff, we can't open. I mean, last year, Colin and I worked both full weekends. I mean, we barely covered, we'd have Laser River open, and sometimes we'd have slides open. We said outdoor, and then that's with Colin and I myself working the entire weekend and Labor Day. So, take what it's worth, but I mean, granted, we don't have, but I just want to inform you guys, that's why I have the current schedule out online and everything just until the 21st until I talk to you. And so, that's what I suggest. Granted, we're not going to do anything about it now, but I mean, I'm not sure if we have to do the next council meeting to approve that, or do we just probably, okay. All right. So I'll see you guys next time, I guess. So, but I just want to get you guys informed, so if you have any questions, I know people are going to, I mean, reading the paper, I just want to let you know, and then plus our staff, I'll say to our team meeting tomorrow morning, that if we don't have staff, we can't open. Plus, if we do say we open on the weekends, we're still pumping in chemical throughout the week. The one year when Ron Henry was still here, we thought we could not put in chemical in during the week, and his turn week, found out, figuring out we turn on Friday morning and be okay Saturday. Oh, we can do that. Well, Phil the Roof showed up one day, and I thought we were by code, but I guess apparently we can't do that. So, so that I found out if we pump in chemical that week, we're basically throwing money away. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Lloyd, you're up next.
Okay, I just want to go over a couple of brief things with the new Caterpillar installation. Expected this week. They'll start showing up on the 3rd. We ran into a couple of delays. There was a question from the DNR if we were going to have to put up a diesel particulate filter, which was going to add $30,000 to $40,000 for the cost. That was an unforeseen event, but with all the stuff that's going on, they seem that we don't have to do it. Taking engine number 4 out of the scenario really helped us. So they went through all their modeling and stuff like that, so that worked out in our favor, so we didn't have to do that. And then on the 20th, we had a scheduled maintenance run. And then that night when I got home, and I think Tanya got the text message too, was, well, be online tomorrow afternoon at like 1 o'clock. And so we generated until almost 4. Does that sound right? Oh, almost 5:30, okay. So, and then they told us we were gonna run the next day too. So we were getting low in diesel, so I ordered diesel, and of course, after it gets here, they cancel the run. But that's kind of how those things go. We've been moving things around and stuff like that. We've got everything as tight packed as we can get it. We did have to move the Cato generator outside, which I'm really not real keen on, but I don't have any place else to put it. It will be sitting up by City Hall. We're going to try to get an enclosure to put it in. I'm going to have to see if there's heating strips that we can install in the generator to try to help keep moisture out of it, because that just ruins those. But hopefully this week we'll see some action. The IUB inspector was here. I'll touch on that next week, or the next council meeting. And the webinar for ITC that I watched, there's an expected rate increase from the 2015 shortfalls in revenue. So we'll probably see a transmission rate increase. Nobody wants to buy the old Enterprise engine, which really is not surprising. We'll probably talk about that at a later date too, because I'm probably going to want to order burning bars and we'll cut her up for scrap and do it ourselves and haul it out in smaller pieces and we can get rid of it. So we'll have 2 of them to cut up. So other than that, I just want to touch on those things, but hopefully we'll see some action this week, and I'm hoping next week we'll see the engine. But we went over last Friday and looked at it. It was very well taken care of. I just asked them to touch up a few things on it, and it looks really nice. I took some pictures of it. If I'd been thinking I would have shared those with you, but I forgot. So I'll send them to you tomorrow. Other than that, things are going good.
All right. Good.
Thanks.
Thank you, Floyd.
Thank you, Floyd.
Any other topics? All right, then, since there is no more, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Lieber with the first,
Second?
and Spear with the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
McNeil? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
All right.